I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, November the 20th, brought to you in part by Zactran. Bovine respiratory disease is the costliest disease that affects your calves. Studies show on most cattle that Zactran is your best return on investment. Remember to observe your 35-day withdrawal period after treatment. For more information, go to Zactran.com or visit with your BI representative. Innuendo was spreading all over your cattle markets and all of your commodity markets on Thursday, and it was false. And that's the whole thing about innuendo. They're all about the COVID, and it just seems like ever since the mainstream media has accepted the fact what they're calling the fact that we have a Joe Biden administration coming. All of a sudden now this COVID deal has come back full force. And we're getting ready for Thanksgiving. They're not wanting people to spend times with their family, and they know that college kids are coming back home and all that, and most of your colleges are going to force them to stay home until the end of the semester, and it's come back full force, almost as bad, and if not as bad, it may be coming as when we first come on it back in March or April. But that does not mean that your beef or pork or all your animal protein packing plants are going to have to shut down. Since they went through the worst part of not being able to keep those packing plants open, they have been using safeguards like crazy. All those people are regularly tested. They have to go through safeguards. They have to wear that PPE stuff and completely cover up. Most of them have the plexiglass between them as they're working on the line and all that. Nobody from any of the packing plants has said that they're going to have to be shut down. But you had this rumor and innuendo going around, and it was causing the market to go down. And then once your board starts going down, you get these algorithms start trading, it just races down. And I mean, we kind of had a pretty nice kind of a bullish market going here all week long until we got to Thursday, whenever these false rumors started coming out, and then all of a sudden our market just goes to hell. And that's how vulnerable, especially your cattle markets are, to just what anybody says out there. And then once the board gets to rolling one way with these new computer programs, you can't stop it. But I mean, just within one day, it just changed overnight, and we were getting along so good. And actually, the only thing that we've really seen that would affect anything with your cattle or beef markets during this new fear over the Wuhan flu is that we have seen panic buying return as we see more lockdowns coming, as the liberal leadership has kind of decided to take over here now. And so we have seen a lot more states start to lock down and close things up and everything. Well, that causes panic buying. Panic buying is bullish, guys. They're cleaning the shelves out. Well, these packers have already signed contract and promised a lot of product out front between now and the end of the year. They've got to they're going to have to do whatever they can to keep these plants open and to actually crank up the change speeds a little bit and to keep this product going, because they've made obligations that they have to fulfill. And so, we've seen our box beef cutout values soar this week, as we've seen that, not on that much movement, but they're getting those values cranked up there. And frankly, I don't think the packers really care if they move a lot of product, current delivery or not, because they need that product to fulfill these obligations that they've made from now to the end of the year. But the only thing that should have happened from these new shutdowns and all this new craze over the COVID is it should have been bullish as they clean the store shelves out again. But hopefully, if we see these wholesale beef prices soar again like they did last spring, hopefully the cattle people will be able to take advantage of part of it. But you watch right here, we've got wholesale beef prices going up. and we've got cattle futures and cash cattle going down and pretty hard. And your calf and yearling markets went down a whole lot worse than what the board did. We had already traded the bulk of our cattle, fat cattle, but the late sales, the cleanup sales, we did see some weakness on that on Thursday. But let's talk about the things that go forward. But remember, here on Friday, we got a cattle on feed report. It's going to be bullish too. And even if we don't hit the marks from your average of analyst guess, it's still bullish, guys. I don't know why, but all of a sudden, the last several months, the average of the analyst guess, they've cranked them so hard to the friendly side that we can't have a cattle on feed report that's good enough to look bullish. They've got the placements coming out at just under 91% of a year ago. That's going to be hard, to beat. And on feed numbers, November 1st, 101.8. Marketing's at 100.1, but that's kind of what we're looking at for your cattle on feed report that comes out here on Friday afternoon. But, in the late sales out here in Nevada Livestock Marketing in Fallon, Nevada, worked till midnight Pacific time, getting those cattle sold. Had right at 5,000 head there, which is a big run for anybody, but it's really a big run out in this part of the country. Going to catch a flight to Rapid City, South Dakota, and yes, there are people out here that are still traveling and fulfilling their obligations that they've made and trying to make a living out here. But going to be speaking on Saturday at South Dakota Farm Bureau convention there. Kind of looking forward to that, and then got a meeting with DV Auction in Omaha early next week. So people are still moving around, but noticeably not quite as many travelers as what I saw here a couple of weeks ago last time I was traveling. But now we should see a lot of people traveling for Thanksgiving, if nothing else, but getting home, like your college kids and things like that. But people are still going to get together for the holidays. Give me a break, this virus is a scary deal, but it's not scary enough to ruin your life over. But seems like a lot of people are hell-bent on doing that. Let's talk about the board on Thursday. December live cattle futures down $2.40 at 108 and a quarter. I mean, down that much after we were kind of getting our legs under us. But a lot of the guys that sold on Thursday are actually kind of liking it if they hadn't got out of their hedges yet. If they sold on Thursday, kind of a cleanup deal, well, then they gained a couple bucks there on the board. February live cattle futures down 262 at 110.52, going out from there, and your out fronts were down 92 to down 242. But that's frustrating. November feeder cattle down just a quarter at 136.77, but you go on the out fronts and they were down pretty hard. But November is going to have to meet up with your cash prices there, so it can't go down too much. But you get some time in it, and then it can go down quite a bit. January feeder cattle down $1.75 at 135.55, going out from there down 195 to down 250. Like I said, your fat cattle trade that continued with some cleanup sales there, but we've moved a lot of cattle, and we're going to have a pretty decent movement if we have any more cleanup trade at all on Friday. But already through Thursday, we're going to be well into the 80 to 90 thousand head on your 5 area feeding region, so that's getting pretty close to a decent, robust trade as far as I'm concerned. Iowa had some sales on Thursday, 4,300 head confirmed. They've got nearly 21,000 for the week. But live sales from 106 to 109. They don't have a lot of those toppy live sales in Iowa, but it was a little bit weaker there. We didn't see that kind of weakness early to midweek there. But dress sales were still at 172, and that's fully steady. Nebraska, about 3,800 head confirmed on Thursday. That's 31,000 now for the week in Nebraska. Pretty good movement, 108 to 110, and there was a little spread there. It was mostly 110, but some of that 108 in there, and then maybe some 109 too. And dress sales from 171 to mostly all 172. So mostly steady to weak, with instances, $1 to $2 lower there on your fat cattle trade. Kansas had about 4,000 head confirmed on Thursday, and they've sold a little over 20,000 for the week. 108 to mostly all 110. In Texas, they're in the best shape of anybody as far as being current. Didn't sell too many cattle on Thursday, less than 400 head, but they've had a decent movement, not really decent, but they've moved some cattle this week, 9,200 head, and all their sales on Thursday were at $110. Box beef cutout values continue to be strong and gained a lot of ground this week. Choice cutouts on Thursday afternoon, $237.70, up $1.86. Select up 27 cents at $213.89. Your slaughter been running pretty decent, and like I said, there's been no truth to any of the rumors about having to slow up on these plants being open. And you look at this week, so far this week through Thursday, 478,000, 6,000 more than last week, 5,000 more than the same week a year ago, going at a pretty good clip, and they'll do what they've got to do to stay open. They've got contracts to fill. Your actual slaughter information come in for the week ending November the 7th. It continues to be bullish too. Your monster average steer carcass weights continue to drop. They were down another 2 pounds from the previous report at 924 pounds on the average. Talk about your feeder cattle market. Actually, I want to mention before I get to talk about the feeder cattle markets about some sales coming up next week. Don't forget, Joplin Regional Stockyards got their yearling special on Monday. I realize this is the last report I'm going to do until the report for Monday, but I want you guys to be thinking about this over the weekend. But at Joplin, they got 12,000 head expected for their Monday sale, and that's going to be in conjunction with this yearling special. Going to have over 100 pot loads of true yearling cattle there at Joplin Regional Stockyards on Monday. You can't go anywhere and find that many of them. But if you guys still want some yearlings, and they'll have some with some weight to them and a lot of go to them that might still catch that April board, be sure to be at Joplin, have an order in there, or be watching on dvauction.com. Real-time index on DV auction at late in the day, and it's early in the morning here, actually 4 o'clock in the morning at home as I'm recording this, but late on Thursday at 137.18. It was your real-time index based on an 800-pound steer, and it was lower, all because of this Innuendo, down 65 cents compared to Wednesday's close there. But look at some of your big sales around the circuit, and then I can't always get the biggest sales, but I have to go to places that consistently have decent runs so we can kind of trust the trend a little bit. But Winter Livestock and Pratt, 2,400 head there. The feeder steers were $5 to $10 lower, and there was no reason for it other than these damn rumors that was going around. Calves, unevenly steady to $6 higher, and most of the higher was on the heifers. And I did see that. That was kind of a trend all over the circuit on Thursday. That your heifers weren't as much, heifer calves were not as much lower as your steer calves, and in some cases they were higher, where your steer calves were only steady or they were a little bit lower. And I think that's just a price per head guys are looking at when they're putting these calves together. Farmers and Ranchers Livestock in Salina, Kansas, good run there, 4,000 head for them. Feeder cattle, steers and heifers running $2 to $9 lower. Just on this one-day deal, guys, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see this board bounce right back on Friday. Be very surprised if it didn't regain everything that it lost on Thursday. Calves, 1 to 7 higher in Salina. Ogallala Livestock in Nebraska, 2,600 head there, steady to $9 lower than the good sale that they had last week. Belle Fourche, South Dakota, this is the only place you'll see that market reported, but 7,400 head there, mostly all calves there at Belle Fourche, South Dakota. Looked on the automated market report from Cattle Market Central there, and see that the steer calves were selling $3 to $6 lower, and your heifer calves were steady to $2 higher. But pretty good sales still at Belle Fourche. Where I was at on Thursday, Nevada Livestock Marketing, Fallon, Nevada, 5,000 head, and I was a little bit surprised to see that the top prices that we had in Fallon on lightweight calves was as good or better than any place that I saw anywhere around the circuit all over the country. But actually Fallon, Nevada, and Nevada Livestock Marketing had the top quote on 5-weight steers that we've seen all week here, 58 head, 505-pound steer calves bring $179 in fowling on Thursday. And the best bunch of calves that I actually sold on Thursday was 102 head, 482-pound fancy steer calves bring $161. Now that's pretty darn good too. How about some quotes out of Valentine Livestock, Valentine, Nebraska? 3,000 head there. And the stick-out deal that come out of Valentine was the Larry O'Keefe and Sons steers, weaned steer calves, 165 head of them, weighed 615 at $168. And that is a big-time quote out of Valentine. But the top quote that I saw on Big Feed and Steers and your Zach Tran top quote of the day comes out of Columbus Sales Pavilion, Columbus, Nebraska. 52 head, 907-pound steers bring 146 and a quarter. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.